and growth that had marked my journey since Rebecca's passing. At the office, the atmosphere had transformed. The company was no longer just a business. It had become a community with shared purpose and values. My role as chairman was evolving from a figurehead to a true leader, one who listened, learned, and inspired. David and I continued to strengthen our bond. We shared more than meetings and business plans. We shared dreams, regrets, and hopes for the future. Our conversations, once guarded and fraught, had become open and honest. We began to understand each other, not just as father and son, but as partners navigating a complex legacy. One afternoon, Susan approached me with an opportunity. Rebecca had long considered a plan to expand the company's philanthropic efforts by creating a foundation to support education and innovation in Wyoming. It was a vision that resonated deeply with me. Together with David and Susan, we laid the groundwork for the Miller Family Foundation. We envisioned a future where the company's success would ripple outward, empowering individuals and communities to thrive. The process was intricate and demanding. We held meetings with legal advisors, engaged with community leaders, and crafted a mission that honored Rebecca's commitment to making a difference. The foundation's launch event was a milestone, a gathering of employees, local officials, and beneficiaries who shared our vision. As I spoke about the foundation's goals, I felt a profound connection to the legacy Rebecca had entrusted to us. At home, the pace of life settled into a comforting rhythm. David and I spent evenings discussing the day's triumphs and challenges, sharing meals, and reconnecting as a family. The wounds of the past were healing, replaced by hope and understanding. Reflecting on my journey, I realized how far I had come from the man who once felt invisible and inadequate to a leader embracing responsibility with courage and humility. Rebecca's final gift had given me more than wealth. It had given me a purpose, a chance to make a lasting impact. As the sun set behind the Wyoming hills, painting the sky with hues of gold and pink, I stood on my porch, grateful for the new horizons ahead. With the launch of the Miller Family Foundation behind us, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yet beneath the optimism, the weight of legacy pressed heavily on my shoulders. This was more than a business or a charity. It was Rebecca's life's work entrusted to me to carry forward. The responsibility was immense. Each day brought new decisions and challenges. The Foundation's programs needed careful planning and oversight, balancing ambition with practicality. The board expected results, and the community looked to us for support and hope. I often found myself reflecting on Rebecca's journey, the sacrifices she made, the battles she fought to build a company and a life that defied expectations. Her story was a constant reminder of resilience and vision. David, too, was growing into his role. His initial skepticism had softened into commitment. He took an active part in both the company and the foundation, showing leadership that made me proud. Our shared dedication was a balm to the wounds of the past. Yet family dynamics remained complex. The years apart had left scars that time couldn't erase overnight. There were moments when old tensions surfaced, disagreements over strategy, differing visions, and the echoes of past grievances. One evening, after a particularly heated discussion, David and I found ourselves sitting in silence. The tension was thick, but so was the unspoken understanding that we were both striving for something greater than ourselves. "Dad," he finally said, "this isn't just about business or legacy. It's about us, about healing." I nodded, feeling the truth of his words. And it's the hardest challenge of all. Outside the walls of the office and home, the Foundation's impact was growing. Scholarships were awarded, programs launched, and lives touched. Stories came back from recipients, young people inspired to pursue their dreams, communities strengthened by new opportunities. These stories fueled my resolve. They reminded me that legacy was not static. It was alive, evolving, and carried forward by those willing to serve. As the first snow fell over Cheyenne, blanketing the city in white, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. For Rebecca's trust, for the chance to make a difference, and for the family we were rebuilding. Legacy was a heavy burden, but also a gift, a call to live with integrity, compassion, and purpose. And I intended to answer that call. Despite the progress David and I had made, shadows of the past still lingered. Memories of our fractured family life, the years of silence and misunderstanding occasionally crept into our conversations, reminding us of how fragile the bonds we were rebuilding truly were. One afternoon, I found myself sifting through old boxes in the attic of our family home on Maplewood Drive. Dust danced in the slanting sunlight as I opened a weathered photo album, its pages filled with faded images of birthdays, holidays, and quiet moments from a life long gone. Each photograph told a story of laughter and love, but also of distance and regret. I traced my finger over a picture of Rebecca and me on our wedding day, smiles, bright eyes full of hope. The memory brought a lump to my throat, a bittersweet reminder of what we had lost and what we still longed to reclaim. David joined me in the attic, his presence silent but steady. Together we began sorting through the memories, sharing stories and reflections. It was a moment of connection, a bridge between the past and the future we were determined to build. Later at the office, challenges awaited. The business world was unforgiving and competition was fierce. A rival company had launched a campaign threatening Flora's Consulting Solutions' market share, testing the strength of the foundation Rebecca had laid. David and I worked tirelessly, strategizing responses, rallying our team, and reinforcing our commitment to innovation and integrity. The pressure was immense, but it also solidified our partnership and resolve. Amid the turmoil, I received a letter from a longtime friend of Rebecca's, a woman who had been her mentor and confidant. The letter was filled with stories of Rebecca's early struggles and triumphs, her unwavering determination, and the values that had guided her life. Reading her words, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Rebecca's legacy was not just about business success. It was about courage, resilience, and love. That evening, David and I sat on the porch, the sky painted with stars. We talked about the future, our dreams, and the family we were becoming. The wounds of the past remained, but they no longer defined us. As the night deepened, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The past was still there, but it was no longer a prison. It was a foundation, strong, enduring, and ready to support the future. As autumn deepened and the chill crept into the air, I found myself reflecting more and more on what Rebecca had taught me about strength, resilience, and above all, forgiveness. It was a lesson I was still learning to apply both to others and to myself. David and I had come a long way since the tense days following the reading of the will. But healing was a continuous process. There were moments when old grievances resurfaced, words exchanged in frustration, and the pain of years lost settled heavily between us. Yet through it all, the foundation of respect and love grew stronger. One afternoon, as I prepared for a company event honoring Rebecca's memory, David called me unexpectedly. "Dad," he said, voice softer than usual. "I've been thinking a lot about everything. About Mom, about us. I want to say thank you." "Thank you," I echoed, surprised. "For giving me a chance, for stepping up even when it was hard, for forgiving me when I wasn't easy to forgive." I felt a warmth spread through me, the kind that comes from knowing wounds are truly beginning to heal. That evening at the event, I stood before the gathered employees, partners, and community leaders. I spoke of Rebecca not just as a businesswoman, but as a mother, a mentor, and a woman of remarkable character. I shared the story of her final letter, her hopes for us, and the lessons she had left behind. As I spoke, I realized that her greatest gift wasn't the fortune or the company, it was the opportunity for forgiveness and renewal. Later, as the crowd dispersed, David approached me. "Dad," he said quietly, "I'm ready. Ready to move forward to build something together. Not just the company, but our family." I smiled, tears prickling my eyes. "So am I, David. So am I." The road ahead would still have its challenges, but for the first time in a long time, I felt truly hopeful. Rebecca's legacy was alive, not just in contracts and assets, but in love, forgiveness, and the promise of new beginnings. And that was a gift beyond measure. To err is human. To forgive, divine. It's a saying I heard often growing up, but it wasn't until these past months that its true weight settled deep within me. I've lived long enough to know that mistakes are part of being human ourselves. Our loved ones, even those who've hurt us the most. But learning to forgive, that's where the real grace lies. Looking back on my journey from a man overwhelmed by loss and resentment to someone standing here ready to embrace the future, I see how forgiveness was the bridge that carried me across the deepest divides. It wasn't an easy path. There were days when anger and pain felt like the only companions. But each time I chose to forgive, a little more of the burden lifted. I think about David, my son, who once saw me as an obstacle, a shadow standing in the way of his dreams. Our relationship was fractured, scarred by years of silence and misunderstanding. Yet through patience and humility, we found a way back to each other. Forgiveness was the gift that allowed us to heal, to rebuild not just a family, but a foundation of trust and love. Rebecca's legacy was never about the money or the company. It was about teaching us what truly matters: character, compassion, and the courage to forgive. She understood that wealth without love is hollow, and success without kindness is empty. I've learned that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the hurt never happened. It means choosing peace over bitterness, choosing to let go so you can move forward. It means recognizing our shared humanity, our shared flaws, and embracing each other despite them. As I stand here today, with a life forever changed by love, loss, and grace, I want to leave you with this. Life will test you, it will challenge your patience, and sometimes it will break your heart. But in those moments, remember the power of forgiveness. It is the divine strength that transforms wounds into wisdom and pain into peace. If this story has touched your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts and stories in the comments. We all carry our struggles and triumphs, and by sharing, we remind each other we are not alone. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. Together, let's walk the path of forgiveness, kindness, and hope. Thank you for listening.